No, you don't need the.
I'm doing this my way.
He a legend, he a legend, he a legend. He a legend, he a legend, he a legend.
Talking on it though, then
He
you
a
can't put it up
legend.
later.
Welcome to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league of items. Welcome to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league of items.
Yo, what's up, everybody? It's Michael with League of Items. So about last night, what happened? What a weird night. We didn't have any extremely high scores. The best team on the night was EDG. Just a very weird night. Some good lineup construction by some of the players out there, I think. Differentiating themselves, switching up how much salary they left. So let's take a look at the game-winning lineup. So first we have Hope, the AD carry from EDG. He scored a lot of points last night. Pretty interesting because I thought that EDG versus OMG wasn't going to be that high of a scoring matchup, and I think for the most part I was right, because the games themselves weren't very high kill score games. It's just that they were the best stack on the night. So like sometimes you'll have these slates where you think there are a couple matchups that are just going to go out of control, like the Invictus Gaming World Elite one from last night, and they just disappoint. I predicted it the day before, and I was on it the right way. I didn't have any huge caches, but I at least saw it the right way. Yesterday, just didn't see it the right way. In their top lane, very interesting. This was a one-off. They threw in Sowan from KT. I'm assuming this was for salary purposes. Probably for salary reasons, or to just differentiate themselves. So they have top laner from KT. During my video with DFS Bachelor yesterday, we actually went over the KT versus Gen G matchup, and I said one place that they could theoretically win through is top lane. So Sowan has a pentakill in game 1, has 9 kills, is pulled out for game 2. They get destroyed in game 2, comes back for game 3, and they lose, but he still picks up a few more kills. So very weird. The ending of that game was actually pretty cool. If you have time to check that one out, the end of game 3. So then in jungle and mid, we have 2 more players from EDG. That's just, fundamental good building. Like, you want to get a couple of players correlated with your captain. Nothing wrong there. An interesting spot that this player went, Roma 315, he threw in Teddy and Effort. On my video yesterday, I did mention Teddy specifically. I think that in the meta that we're moving towards, Faker is going to take on less of a scoring role in terms of getting the kills, and it's just going to focus even more attention to Teddy in team fights. So that's a good thing for Teddy's scoring. We'll see in a second when we get to the other sheet how much more highly scoring he was than his teammates. Effort is highly correlated with Teddy, so that's pretty smart. And then this player went with Dominus over RNG. I don't think many people were projecting that upset. I don't know why you would project that upset. I'd be interested in hearing their reasoning. RNG is just a better team. Maybe there was some kind of playoff scenario that I overlooked that like RNG just didn't care or something, but it's really difficult to project motivation for players, especially in esports. It's just not the same as traditional sports in terms of motivation. But good lineup. That's a $50,000 score. Good to you. Roma 315. Pretty cool. 609. So basically what we're going to try to do is look at the top stacks that I had on my sheet last night. Well, not the top stacks. I have a sheet that basically creates like between 3,000 to 4,500 lineups depending on what teams are playing. And they're just pure stacks. 3 4s, 4 3s, no pivoting, nothing like that. Just to see how like these baseline teams perform and the baseline stacks perform. That's just something I do with my process. Not for everybody. Maybe some people don't think it's great, but I love it. And I have a lot of people that enjoy the sheet. If you want access to the sheet, just to check it out, you have to go through Patreon. We're probably going to switch it up soon in terms of how patrons support everything. Probably go to a monthly subscription at the beginning of next month, but it's not good to change it mid-month. So make sure to keep an eye out for that if you're interested in that. So let's go to the sheet. Just gonna move my camera down. Okay, so let's go team by team and kind of look at the scoring. So RNG, huge disappointments on the night. They had a lot of ownership and just disappointed a lot of people. T1, they won 2-0, but the only player that really had a really good performance is Teddy. And this is including the games not played bonuses. So this is the kind of thing that happens when there are a limited number of kills and the kills are highly concentrated on one player without getting the extreme assist upside, the assist bonuses, and all of those things. So a little unlucky for the T1 stacks last night. T1 was up against, let me just check. T1 was up against a Freak of Freaks. So I don't think there was anything specifically about that matchup that could lead us to think this was going to be the outcome in terms of the limited upside. A Freak of Freaks was, I think they were in playoff contention still. Just interesting way that played out. A little bit of depressed ownership too because T1 is in Korea, so it does pay to have some exposure to them on all your slates, even if you think the Chinese teams will score more in general. Then we have Invictus Gaming. Invictus Gaming versus World Elite was easily the most popular game. I think I saw a statistic that 44% of teams had either Invictus Gaming or World Elite on their team or as the captain. I don't know exactly which one it was, but that's just crazy. If you look at World Elite and Invictus Gaming, some of the World Elite players actually scored more than their counterparts on Invictus Gaming. So Beishang versus Leon, Beishang scored higher. And this is the kind of thing that happens when you have a team that is more focused on getting kills and a team that's more focused on winning games. Invictus Gaming looks for kills to create advantages to fight for their objectives and to take their objectives. But when they see an opening at the end of the game, even if they're behind in kills or something like that, they just go for it. So the best score on Invictus Gaming was Puff, but 81.4, that's the third best on the slate. Obviously, that's not going to win you any tournaments. Then up next, we have EDG. EDG was the most important stack of the night. So this is a spot where we see the top laner is the one who missed out on the fantasy production for his team because they're on an island for one reason or another. So combinations of EDG were necessary. I think it's interesting because the EDG spot yesterday probably had people liking them a little less compared to the other two Chinese teams. Dominus typically gives up more points in losses than OMG does, I'm pretty sure, and so does World Elite and Invictus Gaming. So if you had any thoughts about Invictus Gaming going 2-0 or even 2-1, you would assume that it'd be more highly scoring. So I think this was a low percentage outcome, and that's why you make some lineups to cover those scenarios. But I think most people who ran out a lot of lineups had a considerable amount of exposure to the other games as well, which is evidenced by the fact that the biggest split at 4 was like 13 people or 12 people instead of like the 20s or 30s or 40s that we see sometimes, because the plays that everybody was seeing didn't end up being the best. Next up, Damwon Gaming. So here we see the top laner. The top laner scored 70.5. Naguri. They went 2-0 in their matchup. There were some people saying that Damwon Gaming might not play their starters and all this kind of stuff because of whatever might happen in the first matchup with Gen G. But that's just a spot where you can't really project that. Maybe you limit your exposure to it, but this was a few team fights away from going much higher. Gen G, huge disappointment last night. I had a lot of Kellen. I had a lot of Gen.G. I thought that they would just try to come out and get it over with, lock up their playoff spot. I think that the fact that it went from Life to Kellen was a spot to potentially take advantage of because you get a little bit additional salary savings. Maybe some lineups open up that you didn't have access to previously. And it like limited your exposure to the different game stacks. So like if one of your game stacks is wrong, but you're in a 4 or 5 person tournament, having exposure to a third team can save you in spots, even if you do see the board correctly or incorrectly. Sorry. Next up, we have KT. So KT game 1, their top laner had the 9 kills and the pentakill, got pulled and then went back in. So you see his scoring was at 68, could have been significantly higher. Same thing with Bono, he was pulled after game 1. Just a weird series. I do like what KT did in a couple of their drafts. I like the ideas that they're trying to put out there. So they're going to be interesting to watch in the playoffs. It's not easy. It's not easy playing those kinds of compositions. But yeah, it's interesting to see. So these are just the wrong players that are in here. Sandbox Gaming ended up losing this series, even though it looked like they had a chance to win at one point. I know DFS Bachelor kind of had a heartbreak because of them. Team World Elite was definitely more highly owned and more expensive than they should have been last night. I think it was smart to stay away from them, or at least limit your exposure to them. Dark Sheep talked about fading them, and I kind of laughed on the stream because I figured, like, I get it from a game theory perspective, and you are being contrarian in that way, but to fade that game would have been completely ridiculous. So you got to make sure that you're not letting the results move you too far away from your process that should be good long term. And then last up, we have Dominus. Dominus pulled off that huge upset against RNG, but they still weren't the best team on the night. So again, it's a situation where sometimes even if you project this like crazy outcome to happen, you're not necessarily going to get fantasy scoring out of all these other teams. The places that are going to benefit the most from a huge upset is going to be the team most of the time, or the easiest one to know for certain that it's going to like be competitive with the other high scores is the team, because if you win 2 of those 3 matches, you're going to score probably between 22 to 28 points in 2 games. So you get two wins, and you get like, I don't know, between 5 to 10 points in your loss, and you're looking pretty good from a team perspective. So then the highest scoring stack on DraftKings last night was EDG with Dominus, with Scout as the captain. So that's 595. So this, I don't think I saw this on my sheet. Scout with Dominus. Oh, so I guess I probably didn't have that on my sheet. So basically my sheet, if you're looking at this specific page, like the today's lineups page, it only has room for 10 teams. So you would have needed to project Dominus to beat RNG, which almost nobody was doing, and then switch out their roster into one of the team slots. So that's one thing with the sheet, is that it's just not going to be like plug and play. You need to make sure that if you have opinions that are different from mine, you have to kind of switch it up a little bit. So you have to go into the projections tab, switch around the projections. If you think that Dominus is going to win, then you need to have that changed in the sheet. Otherwise, the projections aren't going to come out with that outcome, because I was not expecting that to happen last night. So the best stack that I had a chance of getting to based on my sheet was EDG plus T1. This was a double support lineup. We have a lot of double support lineups at the top here because of how the scoring ended up last night. So I think three of the 4 highest scoring teams were favorites. So when you have an underdog win, they are going to probably sneak into some of the best stack possibilities, which is why we see it at 590.4. But then also we should check out, can we build an even better lineup than this? So let's do captain, top, jungle, mid. Oh. All right, so team, we can do. Actually, let's start with the highest scoring players on the night. So let's try to fit in an EDG stack. So we probably need Teddy and Hope. So let's do this. Let's do this. Whoa. Okay, so we have EDG and T1. We probably want to get all 4 of these players in. So let's see if we can, how much of this we can actually fit in. Can probably get some salary savings from natural. Probably get some salary savings elsewhere. So 64. Actually, so okay, so Sowan's going to be the best one for salary savings. Probably should have kept their names there. So we have Hope, Sowan, Jai, Teddy. So right now we're at 28,000 and we're at 350. We need to get to 609.02. Let's throw in Dominus, and then if we have extra salary, we'll just try to move up at some point. But a 4-point difference between them and EDG, which is 1,000 points more expensive. It's probably better to just leave them in there. Let's get 1, 2, 3, and then Scout. Okay, so that is too expensive. So we need to get rid of 400 salary. So if we go from there. Wow, I wonder if he hit the perfect lineup. How else would we be able to beat that lineup? Wow, was that really the optimal lineup last night? That's crazy. If we did, let's try this. And then we'd have to change this to Beishong. Nope. Wow, I guess this guy really did hit the optimal lineup. Unless I'm missing something, which is very possible. So let's see. Hope. Maybe if we put Teddy in. If we put in Teddy. Well, I can't think about it much more than that. It looks like this guy basically hit the... Looks like he hit the optimal lineup. Wow. Good for him. Good for Roma. It makes sense because the salary is at 50,000, so it's going to be tough to pivot away unless another lower scoring player, another higher scoring player was less expensive. But it doesn't look like that's the case anywhere, right? So that's it. Thanks for stopping by. About last night, it was a bad one. Thank you to everyone in the comment section who took the time to remind me how bad it was. My account balance wasn't a strong enough indication from yesterday. But anybody who told you they saw everything right yesterday is just out of their minds. There's no way, or at least I'm sure they don't have proof of it. Projecting an RNG 0-2, and everything else that went crazy last night, there's just no way. So that's all I got for you right now. Make sure to watch out for my almost perfect lineup. About to record that. That'll be up on the channel as well. If you like what you're seeing, let me know in the comments section. Subscribe, follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Patreon, everything, not every social media, but most of the social medias I'm on. All the support is much appreciated. Thanks for the kind words, and I'll see you later.